you're looking for work and you're lucky enough to be offered an interview, the chances are with the current pandemic that that interview is going to be online. Whether it's through Zoom or Teams or any other kind of application, it's going to be a video interview rather than face-to-face. And if you've not done those before, there are some new skills and little tips to consider. So let's have a look at them. General tips. The first thing to say is keep it formal. And what we mean by that is you need to take this seriously. Just because this is an online interview doesn't mean it's any less important than a traditional face-to-face interview. So you should treat it with some level of importance, and you should do all the prep you would normally do for an interview. So you should be researching the organisation or the company, you should be practicing your questions and answers, and all the other stuff you would prepare for an interview. If you're not sure how to prepare for an interview, then you are in luck, because we have done some videos on these skills. So we've covered videos on transferable skills, preparing for interview, and interview skills themselves. I'll put a link either here or here so you can jump straight to it. The last thing to say is get familiar with the technology. This usually comes down to three things. Firstly, your Wi-Fi connection. Make sure it's up to scratch and can cope with this. It might also be advisable if you've got other people in your house to ask them to not use the internet during the interview. The last thing you want is to have your interview going really, really well and then your Wi-Fi packs up, or you're fighting for bandwidth with one of your kids who's playing an online game or something. Okay, so make sure your Wi-Fi is fine. The next thing is check the equipment, whether you're going to be using a computer, a laptop or a mobile phone. Make sure it can cope with this. Have a go, practice it. And the last thing is the software. Do you need to download an app or do you do this through a website? Just have a go beforehand, practice it. Make sure that it's all okay. When you are in your interview, you want to be concentrating on the questions and the answers, not worrying about whether the technology is going to keep working. Before the interview, there are a couple of things you need to consider. We've already mentioned two of them, which is you need to prepare for the interview itself and you need to make sure all the technology is working okay. The next thing is the location. Where are you actually going to do this? You need somewhere that is preferably quiet and free of distractions. Then you need to consider, what does it look like behind you? If you've been watching the news lately, you've probably seen a lot of interviews with people online, and if you're anything like me, you'll be looking behind the person at their bookcases or their pictures or whatever's in the room behind them and making comments, etc. So it's all part of the first impression you want to make, that people aren't just seeing you, they're seeing the room behind you. So think about, what is it that is behind you? Have you got a pile of dirty washing here? Have you got clutter? Have you got mess? Have you got something inappropriate, dodgy calendars or something? Clear all that stuff away, or go somewhere where there isn't those kind of things. And it's best to have no distractions behind you. So if you are unsure what to do, then pick somewhere where there's just a blank wall behind you. The next thing to consider after that, once you've picked a nice location and it's quiet, is framing. And all that means is where the camera is going to be in relation to you. Framing is where everything is within the frame. So you'll notice with myself, I tend to sit slightly to one side, slightly over here a little bit, but that's because I know I'm going to put some pictures and things in later here, so I want to leave a bit of room for that. But you may well want to be in the middle, central. If you're using your mobile phone, then don't have it this way. That's called portrait. Do it landscape. Turn it that way so it's the same way as your TV. Okay, and prop it up on something. Aim for about chest height, chest to eye level. So it's like that. Don't have it down here so people are looking up your nose, and don't have it up here so people are looking at the top of your head. You want to get the camera about level and make sure wherever you put it, it's going to stay there. You don't want it falling off halfway through. So think about what's behind you. as part of your first impression. Think about distractions. Turn off the phone, turn off your mobile. If you've got a fridge or a heater or something that kicks in every so often, see if you can turn that off. And think about where you're going to put the camera, where you're going to put the phone, the computer, whatever it is. And the last thing really to think about is lighting. Sometimes when you see online, when we do Zoom meetings or online sessions, you have people where the strongest light in the room is behind them. And what happens is if the light is really strong behind you, the camera can't cope with it. So the way it gets around it is it makes you very dark. So you get these people who are almost silhouettes. They look like they're on the witness protection program. You can't see their faces, and the interviewer will want to see your face. So just make sure the strongest light in the room is pointing at your face. Okay, here it's not too bad because I've got nice big windows that face me and white walls, so it bounces the light in a little bit. But the windows I've turned around away from the desk, so I'm facing the windows. The windows are the biggest light in the room during daylight, and that shines on me. Okay, if I use the camera on the computer here and face that way with that light behind me, I'd be very dark. So I'd have to put a light on there. It's much easier for me to just turn around and face this way. Also, all my clutter is that side of the camera, not over here. I move it all over there while I do these videos. And the last thing to say about your prep before you go into the interview is dress appropriately. Look smart. It's a first impression, and you should dress just the same way you would as you were going to meet those people face to face. So think about it as if it were a traditional, normal interview, and dress appropriately for it, because they're making judgments on you. Okay. The good news is, if you're setting up your camera and everything like this, you only need to do it from the waist up, so you can wear what you like from the waist down. Okay. So pick your location carefully. Make sure there's no distractions. Check your tech. Prepare for the interview and dress appropriately. During the interview, there are a few things to consider. Firstly, at the start of the interview, it can sometimes, if you're not used to it, feel a bit awkward, but probably the easiest way to get over that is just introduce yourself, say hello, my name is, and smile. Okay, smile. You want to look friendly, you want to look enthusiastic, and you want to look interested. So smile. No matter how worried you are that your Wi-Fi is going to pack up or something, just look relaxed. Say hello, introduce yourself, and smile. Speaking of Wi-Fi, if you are worried that the technologies might not hold up, potentially at the beginning you could express that and say, listen, my internet is a little bit dodgy. Is there any chance you could give me a phone number or something I could call if it does go down, and I'll just text you and say I'm having a few problems, and while I try and get it connected again. So you might want to do that. If you're happy with your technology, then don't feel the need to do that, but it's just an idea. The main thing during the interview that you need to really focus on for online interviews is look at the screen, look at the camera. Okay. Sometimes when people have Zoom sessions or Teams sessions or online meetings, etc., it's very easy for us, because we're at home or we're somewhere familiar, and to get distracted, especially when other people are talking. We kind of start to look out the window, or we start fiddling with something that we've got, a pen or keys or something, and we're not focusing on that because there isn't actually in front of us a person, it's a device. But you need to remember, this is your first impression, and you want to look interested, enthusiastic, and focused. So look at the screen, look at the camera, and keep that eye contact. You don't have to stare at them, but keep that engagement with them, even though it might seem a bit artificial. At the end of the interview, again, this can feel a bit awkward when you're going to end the session. It's a good idea to thank them for the interview, for the opportunity, and also to say goodbye. Don't just, okay, that's the end, and switch the off button on your device. Sometimes on Zoom sessions it has leave meeting button. Don't just hit that when it's at the end. treat it as if they were sat there. You wouldn't just walk out the room. You would say thank you and I look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye. Okay, you want to leave with a good impression the same way as you want to start with a good impression. So I hope that was of use for you. These are becoming much more common now. We're getting lots of reports of people who are doing online interviews. And with the pandemic, it makes sense. So it's worth, if you're looking for work and you're getting interviews, it's worth getting your head around these because you're almost guaranteed that you're going to be doing them. The main thing, I think, for most people is the technology and the awkwardness of it being a bit strange, looking at a screen and seeing yourself, etc. So get over that. It's very quick. You very quickly get over that awkwardness if you have a bit of a practice. So why not set up a dummy run with somebody? Get a friend or a family member to go in another room somewhere with their phone, and you do it on your phone or a laptop or something, and just get them to ask you a few questions. Have a bit of a laugh with it. Just get used to the technology, to the software, okay? So it's not a strange thing anymore. You can do this. It's not a big deal. Once you get over that awkward phase, as I said, you'll very quickly find you forget about all that and you're just in a normal interview situation with all the joys that they bring. Okay, so best of luck. Check out the other videos we've got on interview technique. They should be really useful. If you are struggling and you're in Stockport, you just want some extra support, and you are in Stockport, contact our employment support team. They are brilliant. I'll put their contact details at the end. But other than that, take care, stay safe.